This week, Siskel and Ebert review film director Robert De Niro accused of being a communist in Guilty by Suspicion. John Cusack and James Spader are law students in True Colors. And attorney Gene Hackman is opposed in court by his own daughter in Class Action. It's all coming up next on Siskel and Ebert.
They're using you as a parlor trick. They think I'll look across the courtroom, see my precious daughter, and just go all soft
No,
inside.
I think it's a bit more than that.
What do you think, Margaret?
Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio co-star as father and daughter lawyers opposing each other for the first time in a trial in Class Action.
You mean you?
It's one of the new dramatic movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with our reactions to the violence associated with the anti-drug film New Jack City. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. One of the busiest actors in the movies right now is also one of the best. Gene Hackman seems to make about 3 movies a year, and he's almost always good in them. So the news about Class Action is not that Hackman gives another fine performance, as he does as a radical lawyer who stands up for the little guy. The news is how strong and self-assured Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is in the central role of an ambitious corporate lawyer who finds herself up against her father in the courtroom. They have a long history of resentment and competition, which reveals itself in this scene.
Did it ever occur to you that I might be a very good attorney?
Well, you damn well better be. I raised you.
No, Mother raised me. You had a date.
The lawsuit involves an auto model with an exploding gas tank, and Mastrantonio is caught in the middle when her lover, who is also her supervisor, wants her to conceal damaging evidence. He's played by Colin Friels.
You didn't give me this case to help my career. You wanted to cover your ass. You figured if this ever came up, who better to keep your little secret than someone you're sleeping with?
The movie is filled with good supporting performances, including this one by Jan Rubis as an aging engineer whose credibility is under attack.
2762396. Isn't that your phone number, sir?
Objection!
Overruled.
How about 94536?
Objection!
Overruled. Sit down, Miss Ward.
Your zip code, sir. 123019. Isn't that your birthday, sir?
Everything leads up inevitably to the moment when Hackman gets the unethical lawyer on the stand.
You understand, sir, that you are testifying here under oath
Yes, I do.
and that committing perjury is grounds for disbarment?
Mr. Ward, I find that objectionable. I do know the law.
So do I. And I think you're using semantics when all you have to do is answer a simple question. Did you see that report? Yes or no?
Class Action has all the moves of the routine courtroom drama, but actually the legal stuff here is a backdrop to the much more interesting story of the conflict between Mastrantonio's parents and between her and her father. One of the key performances in the movie is by Joanna Merlin as Hackman's wife, who has stayed with him through thick and thin, even while he cheated on her. Mastrantonio is loyal to her mother and resentful of her father, and her father never seems to miss an opportunity to put her down. The movie is really about their family conflicts, with the legal case as a stage on which they try to settle old scores. I thought their scenes together were literate and passionate, and they were what I admired most about this movie.
Well, the problem for me is that is the best thing in the movie, but I think that there is a legal case that they're unfortunately on that is really kind of boring. And then there were problems, Roger, I had with the case itself. And I'm not just trying to be a legal technician here. I'm talking about logical things that would have happened. First of all, you could spot the way the film plays itself out, I think, pretty clearly. But beyond that, this older man, as he testified, Jan Rubis, there's a point where he should have said something about the document that they're looking for. Well, I just told you about it or gave you my notes. He could have said that. He would have remembered that, and that would have broken the whole film down. That's a big, gaping flaw here. What is good about it is Hackman, I think, very much so. And the wife.
Antonio?
She's fine, but not enough for me to recommend the picture because the case that they're involved in, I would have wanted to see them... Roger, I would have wanted to see them tell any story between them but the one that they told.
Yeah, well, the problem is the gas tank exploding and so forth is right out of old Ralph Nader books and out of TV docudramas. And you're right that when they have the older guy on the stand, in order to make that scene work, it's the worst written scene in the movie. They really have to manipulate it to keep the truth from coming out. But on the other hand, there's so much good stuff in the movie that I'm giving it thumbs up, even though I agree with you that the lawsuit is the weakest thing about it.
Well, okay, a split. Our next film is called If Looks Could Kill, and this is sort of an adolescent James Bond action picture, a trivial one at that, starring Richard Grieco from the TV show Booker as a smart aleck teenager student who takes a trip to Paris with his high school French class only to be mistaken as an American spy.
I mean, check this out. Here's my driver's license, my school ID, my fake ID. Listen, I got a great idea. Why don't we track down Mrs. Grover, my French teacher? I mean, she'll tell you I'm...
Your car.
Michael Corbin, deep cover operative with the CIA.
The kid gets a girlfriend, naturally, to help him in his adventures as he tries to escape the bad guy's dungeon using some exploding chewing gum. Wow.
Where is he? Come on, step on it. Double your pleasure, double your fun.
Corbin, show yourself.
Yes.
Corbin?
I know If Looks Could Kill wasn't made for me, but that doesn't mean it had to be written so slightly. I guess I think high school students are a lot brighter than they're presented in this picture. And one more problem, the villains aren't particularly threatening, which is a big mistake in a picture like this. Linda Hunt, the fine actress, plays her character for laughs, and I wasn't laughing at them.
I don't know, Gene. I think this movie comes into the category of guilty pleasure for me. I think she plays the character for laughs because it's supposed to be a comedy, but apart from that...
Of course she does, and I didn't laugh at the joke.
It seemed to me that it was going to be the kind of dumb formula that you've reviewed, but then as it went along, it picked up steam and courage. It wanted to go over the top. It wanted to be manic. It wanted to be bizarre. I don't think I've recently seen a scene in which a French high school class from Detroit is suspended in a cage above a cauldron of bubbling molten gold before.
Probably not.
I think that the movie actually has a lot of fun taking those chances. It sold me.
The fact that it's trying those chances, okay, I'll laugh if they're funny. I'm sitting there not laughing at it. I thought the kid as a hero could have been just so much smarter. I mean, I think high school kids are smarter. Why not write it smart?
This is not a movie about a smart high school kid. What can I tell you? Coming up later in the program, True Colors with John Cusack as an ambitious young politician. Coming up next, Robert De Niro and Guilty by Suspicion when Hollywood was put on trial.
Don't you have an ounce of decency?
What the hell are you doing?
Reorganizing my library.
Terrified by congressional hearings into political beliefs, a frightened Hollywood screenwriter burns his books in the middle of the night in Guilty by Suspicion, a drama about those years starting in the late 1940s when directors, writers, and actors were given the choice of informing on their friends or losing their jobs. It was called the Hollywood Blacklist, an attack by publicity-seeking congressmen on famous names who may have been involved in left-wing causes that were no longer respectable in the early days of the Cold War. The movie stars Robert De Niro as a director who finds himself caught in the trap. You had a choice. Either you got your name cleared or you didn't work.
You call him and do just as he says. Believe me, Graff knows what he's doing with those bastards. And then you come here and we'll talk about the picture. What take was that?
17.
The director's best friend is a writer played by George Wendt, and De Niro tries to explain the paranoid realities of the situation to him.
They're going to call you. The guy asked me about you. The same thing that happened to me is going to happen to you.
No, it won't.
The hell it won't, I'm telling you. I hope you're making a lot on those rewrites because you're going to have to get a good lawyer.
Some directors simply pack up and head for Europe. Martin Scorsese plays one of those men and asks De Niro to finish his movie for him.
You just can't let him do this to you. You can't let him get away with this.
What do you propose I do? Inform my friends? Because that's what they want you to. I want me to inform my friends. I want me to name names, involve innocent people, ruin people's lives. There's nothing noble either. I mean, I just can't do it.
Everything leads to a public hearing where De Niro is badgered by self-righteous congressmen until he explodes with the words actually used by playwright Arthur Miller at the hearings.
She was falsely accused. She couldn't get work. She had no, her son was taken away from her, all because of this committee.
Dorothy Nolan killed herself, and the Communist Party twisted her mind.
In the name of ridding the world of communism, you destroyed her life.
Was she or was she not a communist?
Don't you have any shame? She's dead!
Guilty by Suspicion is one of the most knowledgeable movies about Hollywood that I've seen, a backstage look at professionalism, paranoia, greed, and fear. It was directed by an insider, Irwin Winkler, who produced such films as Rocky, The Right Stuff, and Raging Bull, and it shows the cruel choice presented to the blacklist victims. They lost either their jobs or their self-respect. The movie is fascinating for two reasons: for its look at Hollywood studio politics and for its memory of an unhealthy time in American political life in general. It's a good film and it's an important film.
Well, we have another disagreement. I think the film is, certainly the subject is very important. I didn't dislike the picture as much as I thought it was exactly what I would have expected from anybody to make this picture, except with a better cast. In other words, there wasn't anything surprised. I didn't see any spin on the material that I hadn't seen in pictures like Martin Ritz the Front, 15, 18 years ago, whatever it was, in documentaries. The film just sort of marched along and told the story fairly straight. The characters, one supporting character cracks easily. There's a woman who obviously is going to, her life will end. It seemed to be just sort of marched straight forward.
There was a lot of good stuff in this movie, and the ending was really emotionally stirring.
Well, I didn't think that the ending was stirring, other than I know this cause. I mean, who would be on the other side of this cause at this point?
Most people have never even heard of this cause, Gene. You have.
Yes, I have.
There are a lot of people out there who don't even know that this period existed.
Okay, the problem is...
You have too much information.
No, the problem is I think you're rewarding something for being on the right side of the cause rather than for the filmmaking itself.
Au contraire. Not at all. This is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I saw it twice.
A similar film, Long Walk Home, we both liked it. I think the treatment of the material, again, important material, much better than here.
Coming up next, True Colors, an 80s version of the political drama The Candidate, with John Cusack as a grasping young politician.
Lighten up. Didn't break into Watergate. What do you think, the Department of Justice never cuts corners? It's a brand new day in America, man.
What does that mean?
Don't get caught.
That's John Cusack angling to become a member of Congress in True Colors, a strong, yuppie political drama in which we follow two very different law school students as their careers complement and conflict with one another. James Spader plays Cusack's upscale law school roommate, and he only finds out about Cusack's working-class background after the two of them and Spader's girlfriend go slumming in a bar on New Year's Eve.
Just don't judge me, okay?
Judge you? I don't even know your name, right?
Peter Michael Bertowski. Born in New Haven, March 9th, 1959, to Mike and Irene. The mother left when he was 10. The father, Cuddy Sark fan, raised the boy while working sporadically, usually around the holidays. People got the charitable urge.
They will battle over that woman, played by Imogen Stubbs, after Cusack quits law school to work in politics as an aide to her father, a U.S. senator. James Spader is startled when he sees Cusack play a dirty trick on another senator who he's spotted catting around with a female lobbyist.
He stuck his tire. It's no move. That's a crime.
Okay, so I created a situation. So what? Upshot is I did him a favor. Equal Styles did him a favor, which means he's on our dance card in a close vote. What's wrong with that?
Another strong character is the father of that young woman, the senator played by Richard Widmark, absent from the movies for far too long. Cusack ends up marrying his daughter, and he tries to blackmail the ailing senator into backing him for Congress.
Bringing his ammo into another camp, huh? People hear Alzheimer's, they worry.
I don't even want to think about those kind of choices.
Don't fuck with me. I've been playing hardball since before you were born.
It's good to see Richard Widmark in a film again, and what makes that scene in the whole movie work so well is that True Colors is full of smart, energetic characters led by the impassioned John Cusack, who is so headstrong here that we can't help but follow him in his headlong race for fame. The film obviously trades on our deep suspicion of all politicians. We're sitting there thinking, are they all this driven? Maybe so. And at the same time, with its 5 fully developed characters, this picture, True Colors, is remarkably smart. Credit Kevin Wade for writing a really smart script. At all times, I wanted to see how the story of these characters, all of them, was going to turn out.
You know, I can't believe you fell for this and you held out against Guilty by Suspicion. Every criticism you made of the earlier film is true about this one. The movie's been told before. We know about it. We know how it's going to turn out. There's a better film called The Candidate that's based on the same material. It's not an entertaining film. It's kind of flat. It's disappointing in all of those ways. And yet, for some reason, I just don't understand how you can attack Guilty by Suspicion for reasons that apply manifestly to true colors.
Well, let's deal with this film. Obviously, believe it or not, I might be thinking the same things about you, but I'm not going to waste everyone's time by saying them. I'm going to deal with the picture.
Well, you wasted their time by having your opinion. I'm wasting their time by disagreeing with it.
Okay, I'm going to say that on this picture, I think that Cusack is fascinating. He's really becoming one of our stronger actors, and that I did not know how this story was going to turn out.
I really admire John Cusack, too, and I thought he did a fine job in this film. I felt that the screenplay could have been a lot more interesting if it hadn't been so much the same kind of formula we're familiar with from the newspapers about congressmen like this and the situations they get into.
Okay, a new movie called New Jack City is a surprise box office winner across the country, but it's also attracting controversy as violence has broken out in a few screenings. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Named New Jack City, about a Harlem drug lord and the police who tried to stop him. I liked the movie. Gene didn't, but we both agreed on its anti-drug message.
A drug dealer is the worst kind of brother, man. He won't give it to his sister. He won't give it to his mother, but he'll sell it to one of his boys on the streets.
One remarkable sequence follows a young gang member named Pookie as he is all but destroyed by drugs and then is helped by one of the cops to rebuild his life through a rehab program and Narcotics Anonymous. This is simply not the kind of stuff you see in the average crime movie. You've already seen the stories on the news about this film, about its aftermath, about the riot in the Westwood neighborhood of Los Angeles when young patrons were turned away, or the violence in other cities. The movie's opening follows a pattern similar to what happened with two other movies about crime, The Warriors and Colors, which were both about street gangs. There are probably a lot of reasons why some movies seem to attract violence, and one of them, in the case of New Jack City, is simply that the subject matter is appealing to young urban men who, thanks to the gun lobby, find it easy to obtain handguns and convenient to carry them. Now, the news media loves to jump on a story like this. They love anything to do with the movies, and they'll simple-mindedly blame the movie for the violence. That's a lot easier than looking at underlying social problems or questioning the pro-gun positions of federal officials, which make it possible for kids in gangs to walk around with automatic weapons. I think it would be a shame if the controversy overshadowed the fact that New Jack City is a good and serious movie with a strong anti-drug, anti-crime message.
Well, number one, I think that you got to also put your finger on the kids who do the guns, because lots of kids who are urban males and women attend these pictures and don't pop anybody. So let's fault them. It's not just the gun lobby. I think you're a little
No, what I'm talking about is the coverage of it, because 99.9% of the screenings of this movie haven't had any violence at all. And the fact is, Gene,
they have.
I want to be really hardball here. The number of people killed or wounded in incidents around this movie is probably smaller than the number of people who would have been killed and wounded out in the neighborhoods if they hadn't been in the movie for 2 hours. If you really could be God and look down and see what would have happened.
And in both cases, the kids who do the killing are wrong. And
yes,
the
they
answer
are.
is,
yes, they are.
And the answer is that one, news media should be more responsible, because a lot of the violence occurred prior to the screening of the picture, not while they were in the theater, not that somebody decided, I'm going to adopt a life of crime. At the same time, I think the picture romanticizes the street life in it, that if they had gotten into the theater, I don't think that the drug warning is clear enough.
Oh, now that's where you're completely wrong.
But wait a second, but we're dealing here, not with our re-review, we're dealing here with this issue about the violence. And I think that theater owners, when they book a picture like this, ought to be smart enough to know that if you're going to have a bad crowd, meaning large crowd, and a tough crowd for the first opening night showings. And I know if I have learned any lesson out of this is I'm not going to the first show for a picture like this. I'll see it on the Monday
but what you're
afterward.
doing now is you're just reinforcing all of the publicity about how the movie and the violence
I
are connected.
said absolutely the opposite. I said the violence occurred prior to the movie.
Prior to the movie.
I'm saying it's a problem of crowd control. I'm not saying it's a problem of the movie.
I just hope the fact that this is a good movie doesn't get lost in the controversy. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, an unfortunately neglected Clint Eastwood movie.
Our video pick of the week is White Hunter, Black Heart, a fine Clint Eastwood film from last year in which he directed himself in a role patterned on the life and lifestyle of director John Huston, specifically while Huston was preparing to direct the movie The African Queen with Bogart and Hepburn. It turns out Huston would rather shoot elephants than his movie, and this film does a very good job of presenting a complicated, contradictory character, a man both creative and selfish, compassionate toward the weak, and a bully toward the strong. It is all too rare in American movies to get complicated characters in the lead, and if that is your taste, I think you should check out White Hunter, Black Heart, just out now on home video. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. We had a lot of split votes, as you may have noticed. Roger liked Class Action, the courtroom drama with Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. I thought the trial material crippled their fine work. Another split vote on If Looks Could Kill. Roger said he enjoyed the cheerful exuberance of the action. I thought the teenage James Bond parody was lame. Another split vote on Guilty by Suspicion, the Hollywood blacklist drama. Roger found it important and moving. I found the storytelling rather standard. And we split on True Colors, the yuppie politics film. I really liked John Cusack's headlong drive for Congress. Roger thought it was flat and predictable.
Okay, 4 movies, 4 disagreements, and that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Defending Your Life, starring Meryl Streep and Albert Brooks, and also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.